So we have Johnny Noble with here right now. He's the founder of Noble Body, a cosmetic company. Great to have you here, Johnny. How are you?
I'm very good, Jose. Thank you. It's a real pleasure for you to have me.
Yeah,
First thing I do is like to give you a shout out. I really appreciate working with you because you've done
thank
design
you.
work for my company, and I will definitely be using you again in the future.
Yes,
And for
yes.
anybody listening that needs web design work or design work, Jose has a very good eye for that type of thing. He's done very good work for me. In fact, the banner on my website right now, you designed.
Oh, thank you for the
But
shout out, man.
yeah,
Free promotion.
you're welcome. That's why we're here. Well, it's one of the
Yeah,
reasons why we're here. So,
yeah. I'm going to have to invite you like every month to my podcast.
okay. Yeah,
Wow, that was great. Thank you for that, Johnny.
yeah, no problem. I
So
appreciate.
this is the second time we've talked. The first time you told me a lot of your about your company, about why you chose to call yourself Johnny Noble. Your name is Johnny, but Noble is not your last name. It's like a branding decision. And I really want to dig in there because it's just amazing what you've been able to do with yourself, branding yourself as Johnny Noble and creating a cosmetic company in such a vicious industry. Could you please guide us on how you reached your current level?
Yes, I was working with a designer several years ago, and this has been a long process, as you can imagine.
Hmm.
I actually started with another company, and we could call it a failure, but it was more an experimentation to find out what I thought was going to work best to break into a very difficult industry that you called vicious. It's it was a really interesting decision because we were going through different names and different company ideas and all the factors that go into trying to build what I want to be a global cosmetics brand. That's what I've been working toward for several years now. So when I was working with one of my designers, we came up with the name Noble Body. This is 2.5 years ago now. And as we were going through the different iterations of logos and ideas for the company, we decided it'd be a good idea to have some sort of a founder figurehead like so many other companies do. Steve Madden, Jessica Simpson, Michael Kors, Calvin Klein, only with a little bit of a twist. It's
Johnny
not,
Noble.
yeah, it's not the name of the company. It's it's a person behind the company that's the
Hmm.
figurehead or the founder. And in hindsight, now I think turned out to be a really great idea, and it allows me, and like you said, that's not my last name, because we came up with the name Noble Body, and then from there, my name is John or Johnny. Everybody calls me Johnny, especially my closer friends. So we just came up with the whole Johnny Noble idea from that, and it, now that it's coming through and I'm working with it for months and months, it seems to really be working and it really resonates with people because they have not just a connection to a company, but they have a connection to a person behind the company.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because in this day and age, there's so many companies that are so faceless and so impersonal that it seemed to me to be a good idea to really connect with people
Awesome.
as a way to break into an industry that's very difficult, as you already said.
Yeah, and you lived that because the time that I received your package, you sent me a personalized note signed by you, and
Yes,
that, as you said before, every package is an ambassador for your brand,
yes.
and you live it. You are the living form of your company, and I think it's a great decision by your part. Congrats for that.
Well, thank you. That's good to hear because, as you know, when you're making these decisions, you never know what's going to work or what's not going to work until you test it. And it's a lot of this is kind of an ongoing beta test to see what works and what resonates with people. And when I started doing that, I didn't know
Mhm.
whether that would work or not because as I was testing formulas and products, it was mostly people local here, and then it spanned out where I would send product to people. And I recognize that with something as intimate and personal as cosmetics that people are putting on their body and in their
Their
hair and
face.
on their faces, yeah, it's very personal and it's very intimate. So I wanted to mirror that connection of, here's a product, but here's also me, and I stand behind it because, there's so many products out there and there's so many brands that if you really connect with people on multiple levels, then you build customers that are going to stay with you for a long time, so long as you maintain your promise to them. And my
That's like skin in the game.
yes, yeah, that's a great way to say it. And for me, with something this personal and intimate, if you build a relationship with people and you constantly fulfill your promise to them about the quality of your products and the integrity of your brand, then they will stay with you. If you disappoint them, then they will go somewhere else. And obviously, we see that all the time with many brands. But I mean, that's a fundamental tenet of what I thought I should do to make this work to give me a better chance to succeed in a very difficult industry.
Yeah, it is. It is because, as you said, it's such a personal product. You put that in your face, in your hair. Women with their hair are just that's like here in importance, and you have so much power in your hands when you create a product such as your own, because if something goes bad, people pay for that. So you must pay very close attention to your production and to the quality of the how do you say this, the recipe, how can we say that,
Formula,
the
yeah,
formula. It needs to
formula.
be like top notch.
Yes, that's very true. When I started testing formulas
Hmm.
on people close to me, friends, insiders, to see, to learn the whole process. I mean, this started 4 or 5 years ago for me. One of the things that I did was every single product that I produced, I would use on myself first multiple times to
Great.
make sure that there were no issues. And I've gotten very good at finding the best product on the market as far as the raw materials
Hmm.
and assimilating that into different formulas because it's a huge issue
Yeah.
of health and safety, obviously. So, and to this day, I still adhere to that. Every single batch of every formula I test on myself first because it just became a habit, and I will continue to do that as far as I can see because it's a very big issue with people's trust, and you have to earn that trust for something that is this close to them. And I think once you do, that's where the rewards really come in for a brand like this. If you do it right and you continue to do it and be consistent.
Yeah, and as you said, it's something so close to us because we put it on. And when you say that you pay the utmost attention to the details of your formula, that's like I cannot express in English what I'm thinking right now, but it's up here. It's amazing what I'm experiencing right now because not every day you find people that do what you're doing, that have skin in the game, that really care to create quality products. And that's why I wanted to talk with you here, because I want people to see what you're doing and get inspired on creating their own brands, such as yourself. But I want to know a little bit about your journey. How did you reach to Noble Body? Because you were a lawyer, and then you
Yeah.
became you started selling cosmetics. How did that happen?
Well, it's uh it's been quite a process. I've talked a lot about that on Twitter. And remember, I'm 55 years old. I span pre-internet and post-internet, so this whole thing is fascinating to me. I remember the days where you didn't have a computer device in your pocket the entire time, and
Uh-huh.
um, you know, so I think my brain is wired a little differently because of that. So when I went to law school, the internet literally did not exist. It was maybe 7 years after I got out of law school, or 5 years after I got out of law school, that it started to come online. And um, I I was not living up to my potential at that time in my life, so I went to law school. Much of it at my mom's urging, pretty strong urging. My mom gave me a lot of shit. She said, "You're not living up to your potential, and that's going to be a real waste." So I had some friends that had gone through the whole law school process, and we were talking a lot about it, and I decided to do it. So I went through the whole process. I became licensed in 2 states, Pennsylvania
Great.
and Arizona, and I practiced for a very long time. I had a lot of success at it, and I got to the point where I was just tapped out on it. I felt like there was nothing more that it was going to offer my life as far as making me grow into a better person, into a smarter person. And I'm not disparaging the legal profession at all. I still have great friends that are attorneys, and it was an absolutely fascinating time in my life, and I got a lot out of it. But I hit the point in my life where I didn't want to do it anymore. I wanted to do something else. And as I've also talked about, once again, no disparagement toward anyone whatsoever, but I did go through a divorce, and I got to another part of my life where I wanted to do something different. And it's hard to explain, but I had this drive to create something. I
Hmm.
wanted to, I wanted to create something that I felt like was great, that was going to leave
A
a great
legacy,
legacy for my life. That's
a
that's
noble legacy.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So after I had gotten divorced, I had more time on my hands because I wasn't practicing law full time. I was still doing some consulting work and some law practice work. And then I started working on this project. And in hindsight, at the time, I had no idea what I was doing or how I was doing it, but I just started doing it and I kept doing it. And I was very diligent about it. I put a lot of hours in on studying the industry and studying different brands and different products and different formulations. And as I was going through that process, I realized that I could find some holes in the market that could be exploited.
Great.
And going back to something you said earlier, I think people are longing for companies that are more in touch with them personally and even emotionally, because so many companies have gotten so far away from basic human decency and contact. They just don't care about what they're producing. It's more of a
Profit.
well, it's profit, of course, but it's more of a top down, produce a product like this and call it this and target it at this market. And there's no real thought that goes into it. And you have a bunch of useless fungible products that don't really do very much, but they cost a lot of money. And, people are tired of that. So I wanted to produce products that had more of a personal connection because of the intimacy of the product and what people were looking for. And as I went through that whole process, and it was agonizing, I mean, it took a long time. I started to see different holes in the market that I could target and find people and, target products at different groups of people that really would benefit from them and enjoy them. Um,
How long of a time are you talking?
well, I started this project in earnest sometime in 2014. And let me go back a little bit.
Yeah.
I suffered from horrible eczema for most of my life when I was younger. And there's a lot of different factors that go into it. So starting about 15 years ago, I was experimenting with natural oils and different natural compounds to see
What
if
does that do? That condition.
eczema, um,
Uh-huh.
extreme itching, um, tissue destruction, flaking, very,
Okay.
very, very uncomfortable. I had been to many dermatologists when I was growing up, and none of them could really do anything for me. The only thing they would do for me that would actually help the condition was to prescribe this steroid cream that is over the long term not good for you.
Okay.
So I started studying natural compounds, and I got a decent understanding of it. And then fast forward to 2014, after I had gotten divorced, I started really experimenting and studying natural compounds and natural oils and essential oils. And then I just started making formulas. I mean,
Wow.
it, it's actually, I have one of my old labels. Here's what my first branding, and don't laugh, okay? But here's my first company that I scrapped right after I started it. It was called Scrub Junkies, and you could
Wow,
so
that's a big jump. A
yeah.
big jump.
I
Scrap
started.
junkies to noble body.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I know.
Wow, you,
Well, it's funny
hey,
now.
that was a great decision, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You would be
Word.
called Johnny the Scrapper.
So I started developing sugar scrubs and salt scrubs. And look
Uh-huh.
at some of these. Like this was you can see the color of it. This actually has Hawaiian sea salt in it.
Okay.
This one has charcoal salt. So I was developing these really great salt scrubs that
Uh-huh.
I still occasionally make for myself. I don't have any commercially that I'm working on for this company. So I started working on all different types of scrubs. And then at the same time, I was already working on the women's face oil and the men's face oil that ended up being in the Noble Body packaging. And I realized immediately, well, the name of my company sucks. It's just not going. It's just not going to work. So, so yeah, that's so
Well,
call it.
at least I know now that you are noble and humble.
Well, yeah, I'm I've been humbled by the process.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so I immediately realized that it wasn't going to work. So basically right after I launched that company,
Uh-huh.
I decided that it wasn't going to rise to the level that I needed it to because it just wasn't. And I had been getting feedback from people telling me your branding's too masculine and it's too limited. So I did the whole process ass backwards. What I should have done up front was what I did first. What I did first should have been done later, like I did with Noble Body. So I learned a valuable lesson from that I still adhere to every day. Is you
Great.
do the research first before you
Can
do
you
anything.
repeat that again for people to understand that? You do what first?
Well, I do all of the research first, and I
That's the
have,
first thing.
yeah,
Always.
always, yeah. I developed a very detailed checklist because of that learning experience for potential new products that I religiously adhere to before it sees the light of day.
Wow.
And so that was a pretty agonizing process. So then back to the original question. So in 2014, I was working on that. That went live in early 2015, and late 2015, I completely scrapped it and started over. Came up with the new name for Noble Body in early 2016. That's when I did the first filing for the trademark application, and went live with Noble Body late 2017. So I'm spanning 3 years now technically, but it's only about a year and a half. So that's kind of the entire process. And then
Wow.
during that entire process, I was spending many, many, many hours on formulation and testing and studying the markets, products, natural compounds, buying ungodly amounts of material to work with just to test it to see what it was and how it worked. So that was a very long process, but it was worthwhile because it's what taught me about how this entire process should work and does work. So it
So
was valuable.
it's not like you just threw everything away and founded Noble Body. You took it step by step. You did it slow. You did your research. You tested your own products on yourself, some of your courageous friends, and then you sold it to the public.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of my courageous friends are now avid supporters and use these products, many of them every single day.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
How does that make you feel that the people that helped you first are now buying your stuff?
It's an amazing feeling, and um, I, I I can't even begin to describe how great it feels to to reach that point because your friends want to tell you what you want to hear, but I was adamant with my friends that I need your honest feedback. And I am absolutely adamant about getting honest recon and feedback from people because everybody doesn't like everything. But when you're talking about the way something feels, the way it makes you feel, the way it smells, this is a very, very intricate process that everybody doesn't perceive the same way. So one of the difficulties with a cosmetic product is getting something in that you develop that more people are going to like than less, because you'll never hit 100%. But if you hit 75 to 90% of people that like your product, I mean, you've hit an
That's
absolute
wow.
home run. So
Yeah.
so going through that process, and I knew, I mean, at first it was rudimentary. I was studying and I was really working on quality formulas, but I didn't know what was going to work and what wasn't. And then something
How
crazy
so? Work in for the market or the formula?
both. I mean, formula first, then market, to make something viably commercial that somebody wants to buy it's a long process. And the way it happened was I was making formulas and I would give them to people to test. Obviously, I wasn't trying to sell anything. And I would take the feedback and I would constantly assimilate it into whatever I was making at the time. And then
Right.
the odd thing that happened was people started to ask me for more. Hey, do you have any more of this, or do you have any more of that? And that was kind of a watershed moment where I thought, well, that's interesting. And then it made me double down on time and effort and, more testing. And I got really, really good recon from a lot of people on a lot of these factors that, like what makes a great face oil for women. I had no idea. So I was researching virtually everything on the market of any merit, and I was studying what they did, why they did it, and it's a long, long process. I even did, I think I used Typeform, one of those online service things, online surveys like
Okay.
Survey Monkey,
Yeah, Survey Monkey.
Typeform. So I would give somebody sample of face oil in a nondescript container, but it would have a QR code on it. So they could scan the QR code, which would take them to the survey, and then they could give me recon. And I developed a few questions. I kept them simple, but I got a lot of really good information from people doing that too. And as you
Wow.
can imagine, that's a long process. That's,
Yeah.
you know, come up with it, package it, have the survey done, give it to people that you trust, that you'll get good information from. But I did that with almost every product that I developed early.
Wow, man, that's so that's
You're speechless. Yeah, you're speechless. I've been
yeah.
speechless too.
Yeah, I can just imagine. So you went from lawyer to the cosmetic industry, selling
Yeah.
stuff for women and men to put on their skin, in their face, in their hair and facial hair, and it all like started slowly, slowly, and you took every step with courage and did it, and did it, and did it. So how do you manage to muster all that patience? Because today and age, everything needs to be fast, fast, now, 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 and people are going mad. How do you gather all that patience? Tell me a little bit about that.
That's a great question. Um, I think I had been through so much that it was therapeutic for me to, and I took my skill set from being an attorney for so many years, the attention to detail and the diligence and the study, and don't be afraid of putting in the time and the effort and the work, and getting feedback from people that you knew was honest, that they were really giving you their honest opinion about whether something was good or bad. And quality is a very static concept, as you know. And I just kept going. I don't know how to explain it. I knew there was an end game, and in this case, it's odd because the finish line is actually the starting line. So when you have viable products and a viable brand, you've hit one finish line, but then you've hit a starting line, because then your company really starts. And my starting line, like I told you with Noble Body, was a finish line. It was late in 2017. And the best way I can explain it is that I just didn't stop, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of days in there where I would wake up and I would sit down at, this was actually my lab table. It's now an office table. I would sit down at this table and I would stare at everything and I would just say, what should I be doing today? And then I would just keep moving forward. And I agree with you. Most people don't have any patience. I have more patience than most, but I just kept going and I didn't stop. And there were these milestones along the way that kept telling me to keep going. It was almost odd how it would happen. I'd get down, or I'd think about doing something else, quitting, whatever you want to call it. And then out of the blue, I'd get a text, hey, do you have some more of that, face oil that you gave me, or hair oil, or whatever. Serendipity, exactly. And that's what kept me going, is a lot of those little signals from people that were, telling me that it was good, or somebody would call me and rave about it. Hey, what was that you gave me? Do you have any more? And it happened a lot of times. And then I just stayed with it. And then I got to a turnover point where there was no turning back. When I came up with the Noble Body name, and I knew it was clean, I did all the searches, and I started the trademark process. I felt reinvigorated by the name. And then as I was working with a designer on logos and we were coming up with some really good ideas, then I got even more invigorated. So there were just things that kept me going and kept me energized to finish the project, or get to that starting line. And it was a long process. I look back on it now. I don't know if I would have done it. I mean, I wouldn't trade a minute of it at this point, but there were some long days in there, man.
So you're like the living embodiment of the grind, of doing it even if you don't want to do it.
Just keep doing it. Yeah, don't stop.
So
yeah.
you said something that caught my attention. The days that you wanted to quit, the days that you said, man, what am I doing here? How was your thought process in that moment? What were you thinking of doing if you just scrapped everything and threw everything to the trash can?
Drop shipping.
So drop shipping is buying cheap stuff in China and selling it for 500% more. If you don't know what drop shipping is, to you, the viewer.
I had so many people tell me I was crazy. But you know what I would have been doing? I would have.
Inside your family, you also had people. What the hell is this guy thinking?
Yeah, I did get some of that. I mean, but that actually.
Wait, what about your sons? When you told them, "Hey, I'm going to make product for the face," what did they tell you when you told that to them?
They just looked at me kind of funny, and
It's dad being dad.
Yeah. Well, they looked at me like quizzically. What? You're gonna do what? I thought you were an attorney, and I had a conversation with my oldest son not too long ago, and I said, hey, I've sold product now in 20 countries. And he looked at me and he went, wow. Yeah. So that's what I said. Wow. Yeah, that's what I've been working for.
Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Also,
one of them.
Well,
yeah.
When my goes to, how do you say that? When I finish with it, I'll buy one. It smells so good, and it feels nice. The man's face, yeah, it feels good. The skin afterwards, and it's easy to clean your hands afterwards.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, I like that.
That particular product is one of the things that inspired me, because I was working on the women's face oil and I was testing it on quite a few women here in Phoenix. I don't know, maybe 10 women that I really trusted. And I was really breaking down the formulas. I was going through multiple iterations of it. And it just hit me one day. I was sitting at this table and I thought, well, what's out there for men? Is there a similar product for men? And I did a bunch of searches and there weren't any. This is the first true men's face oil on earth targeted directly at men. And
Wow.
there are some similar things, but none of them are really high. They're either not high quality or they're not targeted at the men's market. And then when I saw that, I was once again reinvigorated. So I started working on a men's formula too. And I'm glad you said you like that fragrance, because that was extraordinarily difficult to get something that most men enjoyed.
Yeah, because
And
it doesn't smell like a lot. So you can use your own perfume, and the smell from the face oil won't won't
yeah,
do won't mix with the perfume, which is great.
yeah. So as I studied that process about what makes a good product like this, and I boiled it down to three or four factors. Obviously, the way it looks, which is not that big of a deal, but it's when somebody puts, say, 10 drops in their palm and they go like this, the first thing they experience is that tactile experience. What does it feel like? And then the very next thing is, what does it smell like? Is it pleasant? Is it unpleasant? And then the third thing is, how does it absorb into your skin, and what does it do? Does it do what it,
Wow.
does it do what it promises? And I studied those three or four factors more than I would even care to tell you, but it went on for months and months and months because I wanted to get it just right, especially for women with the women's formula, because a lot of women want to use it as a makeup primer. They want to use it as a cleanser. So there's a lot of different applications for this type of product, but that entire process was really, really interesting to me. And when I started to get it and people gave me the feedback that was, wow, it's fantastic, or I love it, or I'm addicted to it, then I knew I was there. Then I knew I could start to finalize the formula to, put together the boxes and the package and everything else that goes along with it. So,
So
um,
you're just persuading people in using every feeling, tact, feeling, smell, the eyes with the branding. What else?
everything.
Well, right now we're engaging in its auditory. Is that how you say it with the ears? So
Yeah.
you're using every single weapon of persuasion to make people fall in love with your product, which is great.
Yeah, the only thing I would disagree with is you're not making them. It has to happen naturally. They have to be naturally drawn to
Oh,
the quality of the product, because it's not. You can't give something to somebody and say you're going to like this. You here, try this product, and if they either like it or they don't. I mean, it
hmm.
could be anywhere from they're repulsed by something to they're absolutely completely enamored with it. And that's a very, very static scale for people because everybody's taste is different. So it's
It
it's a
is.
it's a really tricky process, but based on all of the information I have, I got it right. So
No, and especially with men, because we're not used to taking care of our skin. So to make man, or to persuade man, or to create a product that they will certainly buy recurrently,
yes,
it takes, I believe, a lot of effort, especially because it's something we man put in the face, which is
yeah.
not the norm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think as men get older, they want to take care of their skin. And um, I suffered from pretty dry skin on my face, red patches, dry skin. I would get a little bit of eczema on my face, and I started to use the natural oils years ago, so I had a basic understanding of it. But you know, men are conditioned to, well, give me this lotion. I'll put something on my face. And I was using the high priced lotions and they didn't do anything. I would put lotion on and I would go to my office and I'd look at my face and it was dry and flaky 2 hours later. So, and that bothered me. What did I just put on my face that was so expensive that it didn't even do anything?
So
So
your
that,
own formula helped you with your skin.
yes, yeah, no question about it. In fact, the men's face oil is the only thing I use on my face, other than a couple things that I'm testing right now. I use it every single day, and it's just been a fascinating process. I mean, I would have been perfectly happy to just use my formula for the rest of my life, but other people ended up liking it. I mean, it sounds odd, but that's kind of how it started to happen and progress, and it's just been a really amazing journey. I mean, I'm almost stunned when I think about the whole thing and where I sit right now, about how I got here. I mean, I don't know. I'm almost speechless sometimes.
No, and it's an amazing hero story. So you crashed and burned, and then you rose from the ashes. That
Thanks,
that.
Jose.
Well, I read your tweet. You have a train in the tweet, like saying a train passed over me. So you're conveying that message of you had a really tough time, but you kept going and kept doing the hard job other people just don't dare to do.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's a really great success story.
I think everybody has it in them, especially, everybody has adversity and problems in life. And, you know, life is cyclical. You hit highs and you hit lows. And when I was at one of the lowest points in my life, I made a decision that I was going to do something, and I wasn't just going to sit there and feel sorry for myself. And I started working on this project, and I just didn't stop because I needed some sort of an outlet for me to make myself better, make me feel better, and about life and about everything. And as I said earlier, I felt this burning need to just create something that was great. And I didn't know what it would be. I still don't know where exactly this will end up, but
Well,
I
it
know,
has you've been in 20 countries, so
yeah,
it
well,
will end up
there's a lot more
more.
countries in the world.
Yeah. Like you
And
need like
there's
30 more countries. How much? Yeah, like 30? I don't know. How many countries are there? Like
uh,
50?
100,
200? I don't know.
170,
Yeah,
160.
I never used geography in my life. Have you?
A little bit. I mean,
Now.
yeah, like when I get
Do you
into,
have like a world map with pegs and stuff to
I
where you
have,
send your products?
oh, not yet. It's
Ah,
in
you
my,
should do that. Seeing
uh,
that every day will give you like the best inspiration ever.
that's actually a
Like
great way.
conquering the world.
Yeah, one face oil at a time. Yeah.
Wow, that in the next podcast we do in whatever time it takes, I want to see the map with the
The map.
pegs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, that
I'll,
would be fun. That would be
I'll
fun.
work on getting more in the meantime.
Yeah, and hopefully I can help you with that.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
So there's something that caught my attention around 15 minutes ago. The process of creating a new product. You said that you have like a list that you follow religiously to create your product, to do the research. Would you mind sharing some of the secrets of your product creation workflow?
Yeah, yes, I don't mind at all. In fact, my plan this year is to release one product per quarter. It's a little bit ambitious.
It is.
I have two that are, and the only reason why I could do that is I have two that are very close to being done. And it starts with the testing process. I think where I started with these was the very basic question: is there a market for it? Is there a viable commercial market for a product like this that people will buy and continue to buy? And when I overcome that threshold, then you get into, is it a viable formula? Can I produce a viable formula that's competitive or better than everything else, which is always my goal with every product I produce. I want it to be better than everything else on the market. And as I start to go through that process, then I will actually start making it and testing it on people. The next product I'm coming out with, I've tested on 20, mostly women so far, maybe about 4 men, including me. Um, so I go through that process, and then as I get the feedback from people on the testing, then I just keep going. And then around that same time, I start to do a lot of market research about what other products are on the market, what's the container size, what's the price point, can I do it for that general price point, what's the best price point to come out at. So I go through that entire process, and then I'm actually at packaging stage for this one. In fact, here's a sample container for the next product. It's
So it's spray on.
it's not a spray. This pump dispenses about a half mil to a quarter
Oh,
mil per. Uh,
oh,
um,
great.
yeah, so it's, I'm at that stage with this. It's not going to be a clear bottle. It's going to be probably a frosted bottle, something similar to this. I'm actually at the label stage on that one.
Are
In
you
fact,
working with Jamie?
yes, you gave me
Ah,
the
great.
reference to Jamie. Yeah, I have to send.
Yeah,
I
he's
have to
such a
prepare.
great professional.
Yes, no, super nice guy. I'm actually preparing an outline. I have a lot of it done, but it's kind of involved, as you can imagine, with everything. I'm finalizing the ingredient list right now for that, so that I can have him work on the label.
Wow.
So it's been a long process, but I know it's a winner because I've had a whole bunch of women ask me for it again. In fact,
That's how
hang
you
on.
know. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Take your time. Take your time.
I have here's a test right here. This is the latest and greatest test of that particular formula, and that's really close to final right now.
World exclusive, people.
Yeah,
World
world
exclusive.
exclusive, top secret.
Yeah.
I actually I tested it this morning. So it's pretty close, and I
How
have
close? A month? 2 months?
uh well, it'll take me about two more tests to finalize the fragrance. It's going to be really important with
What
that.
do you mean by test?
I will actually make a batch and give it to the next one, 8 to 12 people, and I'll get the feedback on what they think about the fragrance, and then I might have to tweak it one more time. So it's very close. It's
What
within
kind of questions do you ask for feedback?
well, with a I this particular product is mostly for women for cleansing and makeup removal. So I asked them about the feel, the effectiveness. The fragrance is going to be huge. So I asked them, what do you first perceive when you smell it? What's the second thing you perceive? Is it too strong? Is it too weak? So I could get all of the balances right with the different.
What do you mean with weak or strong?
Uh, is the scent too overwhelming? Is it too powerful, or is it not powerful enough? And there's a sweet spot in there with fragrances that I know about where it is now with just about everything, but you want to get people's feedback because and things
They're
like
going to put that.
oh yeah, does it burn your eyes when you use it? It's actually a really good makeup remover. That's one of the applications for it. That's why it's going to be directed at the women's market. So it's super close. But I ask a lot of questions like that, and one of the biggest things is the visceral. Is it pleasant or unpleasant? So a lot of times I want to see them put it on sometime so I can get that reaction and see it. And then I know from that point whether or not it's done or whether or not I need to make some changes. That's going to be a blockbuster because there's nothing on the market like it, but yet there's a big market for it. I already know there's a big market for that type of a product.
Okay.
There's about 5 other very viable commercial products like that on the market. So it's more of a niche product, but there's definitely a very big market for it. And then it comes down to the marketing, of course, once it's live.
How are you planning to market that? Facebook ads, Google ads, or just Twitter?
Uh, everything. I mean, I'll start with I'll start with something like a coming soon announcement for the website that you'll do. And
I have
so
that
that
on recording. I'm going to send it when you say, forget it. I'm going to send you this
yeah,
recording.
and then I'll probably do a blog article on that particular topic just because it's kind of a niche market once again, but there's a big market out there for it. There's a lot of women that do it that use that type of product, so I'll probably do a blog article.
Today and age, not only women.
Uh, True, yeah, true. Well, I'm not going to touch that one, but yeah,
No,
you're
that's
right.
okay. I just couldn't pass. I couldn't. I just had to say it. Sorry.
Yeah, you're this day and
If
age.
you want, I can edit it out.
No, it's fine. It's fine, man. Um, but yeah, real interesting product, and I'm really excited about that one. And then of course, Twitter, Instagram, maybe paid Facebook ads too after a couple of steps. Just getting the word out there. Instagram is a good place for something like that because as you know, you can hashtag for different, things. And I know there's hashtags for that product. So,
Hashtag best
hashtag
life.
keep pushing, do some good graphics. That's
Me.
where people like you come in, or you. And, then just let it take its course. Cause I really
Yeah.
do I like the word of mouth thing, because the word of mouth thing is almost
It's
more
free
powerful. It's free, and it's almost more
and
powerful than
rare.
any advertisement that you can concoct. Is never going to be as powerful as somebody's endorsement to a friend or a family member or a coworker. It's one of the most powerful forms of advertising I think there is.
It gains trust almost
Yes,
instantly.
yes,
Do you
yes.
use like influencers for this? Like, hey,
Uh,
here's a free product. If you like it, share it. And here's an affiliate code.
yes, yeah, I
Would you
do.
do that with a new product?
Yes, no question about it. I have affiliates, as you probably know. I
I've
have
seen them, yeah.
affiliates through my website. I'm very selective about affiliates. I absolutely insisted that affiliates have to try the products, use the products. If they don't like them, I don't want them representing them. I don't want some, just representation that's not authentic or true. So I don't have a lot of affiliates yet, but I have a good core group that I'm really happy with. Influencers, yes. I've obviously sent product to all kinds of people, just to try it, just to get the recon. The information in the recon is almost invaluable. If somebody tells you they don't like something, I mean, I want to hear that. And I don't hear it that often anymore, but of course I hear it occasionally. Somebody doesn't like something for some reason, but it all goes into the process for existing products and future products to make sure that you're hitting the biggest slice of the market that you can, and you're fulfilling your promise to the people that you're selling products to. I mean,
And
that's
what's your promise to the people?
my promise is that everything that I put on the market will be the absolute best that I can make it. And it's something that I will use myself and that I'm comfortable with my family and my friends using. And that's it. It's going to be the absolute best that I can make it, or it'll never see the light of day. Like that product right there. I'm really excited about it because I've tested it a lot, and I know it's going to be one of the best ones in that area. And it might take it a little while to catch on because there's a couple twists on it that are a little out of the ordinary. And you'll see what I mean when it comes out. But it's it's that process that I think gains people's trust, that they feel comfortable with you in an industry like this that's so intimate and competitive. And I think if you hit that factor, the trust factor, where you fulfill your promise to the customer, then you're going to have repeat customers. And I mean, that's where it's at with a company like this, is you
So
want to build,
recurring.
and you want to keep them happy. And in this case, skincare. I mean, I'm all about making people's skin look better. That's my objective. And a lot of people dismiss it. Oh yeah, that's a lot of bullshit, because I think they're I think they're accustomed to a lot of products on the market that don't do anything. But when they actually encounter a product that actually does something, and it performs as it's promised to you, then light bulbs go on, especially with men. Like you said earlier, men aren't wired like that. Well, there's a lot of men now that want products like this because they're waking up to skin that can be better, and you can look better and feel better, and it doesn't cost a lot of money or a lot of effort or a lot of time. I mean,
Yeah,
so
and people want to look youthful for more time.
yes, yeah, exactly.
Eternal youth, the like we humans have been searching for that for eons.
Yeah, I don't know if it's what we actually want though.
Ah, no,
if
no,
we ever
no.
if we ever get it, we might regret it.
Yeah, death is like Steve Jobs once said, it's one of the best inventions. The urgency that death gives us, it's what keeps us alive, man.
Yes.
Can you imagine eternal life? We just let someone else do it.
Yeah. It's
Some
not.
people live as if they had eternal life.
Yeah. Yeah. You
It's a
have
shame.
all the time in the world. if you
Yeah, you
really
have it. No, you don't have it.
if you really had all the time in the world, you might live differently. It's
It
true.
is true. It is true.
It
Talking
changes everything.
about time, your pin tweet struck a chord with me. Your pin tweet, it's like a message. It is a message to your sons about how to be a man, how to be a person of a valuable person to society. And time is very important in family because you use your time, you invest your time to bring your family up and make their lifestyle better. How do you manage the stress, the risk, the uncertainty of being in this market of the cosmetics and don't let that percolate into your family? How do you manage that?
Uh, yeah, it's difficult, but I was used to it. As a trial attorney, I would have very, very grueling, long, stressful days,
Mhm.
and then I would have to come home and try to have that not rub off on my, wife at the time and my children. And it's a challenging process, and any attorneys out there listening know what I'm talking about because your days can just be, and many industries. I mean, many people work very hard, and you come home and you have to try to leave all that behind you and essentially become a different person as you walk through your door so that you're not taking it out on your stress isn't impacting your children or your wife or your family. So I got good at it then. This process has been challenging because there was a lot of risk, there's a lot of uncertainty. Obviously, I've spent a bunch of money to get where I am right now, so it's very stressful. But I I, I guess I've learned to compartmentalize it, and I have enough faith in the process and confidence and knowing that I can accomplish it that I just keep working toward the objective. Whatever the next objective is, I just keep pushing forward to it and then try to not have it rub off on my sons. And my sons are older now. One's high school and one's almost high school, so they're,
They
largely on
understand more or less.
they understand, and they have their own agendas and their own friends, so it's not like they're little anymore that they require constant care. Obviously they still require. I'm going with my oldest son soon to get ski gear because we're going to go skiing on Saturday. So
Wow,
um,
nice.
yeah,
I
yeah,
want to I want to be there because my son is a 3 year old, and 3 year olds are very very clumsy and they cannot do things very well.
yeah.
So every time he comes, I get to my house, he comes running, and I have like to step back.
Yeah,
If I
yeah.
don't do that, not shot.
Oh yeah, coming in hot, right?
Yeah, so once one has to step back not to get,
Oh,
hit
oh yeah,
right there.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I like it when you post like your sons in playing baseball.
Yeah,
How,
my
how
oldest.
how do you make time for your children? I know they're the most important like aspect of a man's life, if for true man, but still sometimes it's hard to do that. How do you do it? Tell me.
Well, you just have to make it. I mean, and now, I'll get a call at 3:30. Hey, Dad, could you pick me up from school? And why didn't you tell me this, 4 hours ago? I mean, what? And because of this project, my schedule is a little more fluid. I mean, a lot of times I'm sitting here at this very desk at 11 o'clock at night working. So, I mean, there's a lot of hours every day, and you just have to use your time wisely. I'm pretty good about my time management and getting things done that I need to get done. But it's fluid. It's obviously challenging sometimes. It was more challenging when I was working in an office when I had to put a suit on and go to an office at 7:30 or 8 in the morning, and I wouldn't come home until 7:30, 7 o'clock, 7:30 at night. And there's a giant block of time, and then you want to come home and eat and recharge and spend some time with your family. I mean, there's just there's just not enough hours when you have a big block that's taken like that. But now I could have 3 productive hours and I can go to the gym or do something I need to do with or for my sons, and then another block of time of work. It's just how you manage your time. It's easy to manage your time when you have more flexibility as long as
It
you're
is.
disciplined with your time.
You are your own boss right now.
Yes, yeah,
Do you have
obviously.
employees?
Well, I have people that,
Employees?
yeah, I mean, I was actually talking to a realtor today about moving into a bigger facility and hiring people. I'm right at that cusp, and I've been trying to fight it off. I do have some help, but I'm stretched pretty thin on my time. So now it's time to start passing some of it off here soon this year, especially when these new products start to come out. There's just not enough hours in the day.
Wow, man. And is that something you're going to be doing soon or?
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I've been, obviously from a cost standpoint, I'm holding it off as long as I can, but I have to, yes. And a lot of little things I've been passing off different things to people for, design or administrative work, things like that. So, I'm holding it off, but I'm ready for it at the same time. I'm at that tipping point.
How did you manage procrastination? Because you are your own boss. You manage your time. You don't have people telling you, hey, Johnny, do this, or I'll just fire you. You
Yeah.
cannot fire yourself. How do you
Well,
manage the urge to procrastinate?
it's the fear of not succeeding that drives me. I know what has to be done, and I start every week with a list of priority, you
Mm,
know, big picture topics, and then almost every day I do a list of things that I need to get done in the short term that I want to get done or need to get done, and then there's the longer term project. So I'm really disciplined about making my list of things that need to be done immediately and just knocking it out and
awesome.
and getting it done. I mean, you can't. There's no time to waste when you're in this position I'm in right now. I just don't have that luxury. So I try to stay really disciplined with virtually everything: sleep, meals, exercise, blocks of work, because you can't be 100% effective all the time on, let's say it's I need to formulate something. I mean, I have to be 100% there and rested and hydrated and focused to be able to do it right, to not make mistakes, to make sure I'm going to get a good result when I test something. So you just have to be disciplined, and I've learned that over the last few years, because sometimes there's those days where I just don't feel like doing it, and then do something else then. I mean, just do something. Just advance the ball no matter what, and eventually it becomes ingrained in you.
That's a really actionable advice. What you just said. So list your big goals, your task, and just keep working until the list turns small at the end of the day.
Yeah, and they'll be carryover, but yeah, it's all got to be done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
one way
it's
or
just
another.
like a really zen way to manage your time. You just list everything you want to do, just keep
Bang
doing
it
it
out.
until yeah. Look, there's something that bugs me right now, and it's deciding between a physical product and a digital product. You yourself are a physical product guy.
Yes.
I sell ebooks, which is it's great because I do it once and it just rinse and repeat.
Yes.
It's way cheaper for me to do that. How would you guide someone to make the jump from ebooks or physical product, digital products to physical products? Would you like want to talk about that?
Yeah, that's a really interesting topic. I've actually been approached. I've had people come to me and say, "Can you tutor me on developing a cosmetic product to get something like this in a container?" And I haven't done it yet. I've thought about doing some consulting, and then I decided not to, because it's just going to be a distraction that takes me away from advancing these products in this company. Um, but the digital product versus the physical product thing is really interesting to me, because I understand the net returns are potentially great without the effort after you initially produce it. So what I guess I would recommend is have digital products that are out there that you can easily promote and generate capital, and then whatever the physical product is you want to work on it simultaneously, do all your homework and research to make sure you have a viable market for whatever it is, and everything is going to be sound on design and packaging and formula, or whether it's a food product or a fidget spinner, whatever the hell it is. And you work on a dual track, because physical products, e-products require some block of intense effort to get it done, to get it in the form that it can be presented to people, that they can buy it. Physical products is usually a longer process. It's a longer, more involved process with a lot more uncertainty depending on what your product is. Is it coffee? Is it olive oil? Is it leather bags? Is it cosmetics? I mean, and those are all ones you see on our Twitter groups about guys that have produced physical products. And you have inventory issues, you have potentially manufacturing issues, you have packaging issues. So
shipping issues.
Shipping is huge, especially if it's a heavier product. I know people that wrestle with that all the time. The Cello Oils guys, those guys are fantastic. They've done a great job. Kyle and Martin, I know they wrestle with the weight of the product all the time. I have some of those issues, but not as bad as they do. But those are all considerations you need to think about to make sure that you're not going to have a nightmare later on. And I think the bottom line is it's doable, but you have to be able to devote the time to it and make sure that you're doing it in the sequence that you're going to have success and not just have some colossal failure, because you just don't know. I mean, any physical product now for me, I don't care, maybe sometime after Noble Body, I'll develop some other physical product. I would start with, is it a viable product by having it made and handing it to people, and then figuring out the size of the market from that. But depending on what it is, I mean, there's so many variables about what you're talking about. Is it some sort of potato chip, or is it, something that works with guitars? There's just so many possibilities, but it's a very involved process that, as I've learned the hard way, but I'm okay with it now.
Yeah, but all those lessons and all that knowledge, have you ever thought about selling ebooks in your website, or maybe every time someone buys a product, you just send them like the 10 tips on how to skin care your face, whatever? Have you ever thought of creating something like that for your brand?
I don't. The answer is yes. I have thought about it. This is not at the point where I would feel comfortable doing some sort of an e-product about how to start a cosmetics company. I mean, I will be way more successful before I even thought about anything like that. And I feel like I could do it right now, at least to have people avoid a lot of the pitfalls and mistakes that I've made along the way.
Yes.
But I don't want to devote the time to it, and I don't feel comfortable doing something like that at the stage that I'm at right now. It is a viable alternative for me. And as far as skincare advice, I mean, that's something I would put on a blog. I wouldn't expect to charge somebody to tell them, here's some tips for skincare. I would do a blog article and give it away and give people advice on how to take care of their skin, and some of the ideas and things that I've learned along the way. But
Awesome.
I've seen people have success with the e-tutorial ebook concept for lots of industry. Yeah, exactly. So it's an interesting process. I've been approached by people to help them design cosmetic products, and I've turned it down because I just don't want to do that right now. So
it's time. It takes time.
Yeah, exactly.
So we just reached the hour of the podcast.
Went fast.
We liked each other. I have two last questions for you. The first one, if you had to start over again your process with Noble Body, which one thing would you do differently? Only one. Or if you have more, you can say, but one thing you would do totally different.
Uh, wow. I mean, hindsight's 2020. I I think I could have done a lot of the things that I did cheaper. In other words, I could have spent less money on certain things. Um, and I know there's a kind of a Twitter war. It's good natured, but it's on the whole branding process, and brand doesn't matter, brand matters. It's a really interesting study for something like, a cosmetic product that you want to have some sort of international potential. I think branding, brand identity is gigantic. I think it's everything. It's an enormous part of the process. But if you're going to start a drop shipping store and you're going to sell, Wonder Woman shit, it doesn't matter that much. It truly doesn't. So I
It
get
doesn't.
I get where the lines are drawn, but I spent a bunch of money on scrub junkies. I paid attorneys. I spent money on trademarking. I mean, I would have spent less money, and the whole cart before the horse thing I said earlier, I would have been more certain about some products before I even attempted it. I feel like one of the biggest errors I made is having this ego notion that I created something and you're going to love it. Well, that's not the way the world
It
works.
doesn't work.
No, the world does not work that way. So
Ah.
that's when I got to the noble body stage. It was, hey, try this and let me know what you think. And then from that, I will determine whether or not I think it has commercial viability to be a product for the market. So that was probably the biggest error that I made along the way that I would definitely change, that I have changed, and I will never make that same mistake again. So that's the one.
180-degree turn. What one thing would you do exactly the same?
Um, I would put in the time and the effort to understand what I was doing to make sure that I was really comfortable and confident in what I'm doing.
The
Um,
research.
yeah, the research and I've gotten really good at the acquisition of information from people and the research and the entire development process for different products. And how does it look? What's the name? What does the product do? How do you present it? How do you describe it? All of those factors I got really good at by putting in all that time. So I would continue to do that. I think it's a really important part of the process, and I think it's a part of the process that's lost on the big top-down hierarchy cosmetics companies. I just don't think they do research like I have. Mine was more like guerrilla on the street type research, whereas they do their control groups and whatever other nonsense they do to spit out some fungible product that doesn't do anything, which is really frustrating to me, by the way. Like, I thought there was bullshit in the legal field until I got into the cosmetics field, and, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go about it differently. So that research and that understanding of what makes people like your product is really, really important. So it's a fascinating part of the process for me too.
So to end the podcast in a high note, I love platitudes. I love inspiring people to do the best they can. And platitudes are just like the way to go if you want to inspire people. Let's end with a platitude. What is your message of, let's say, hope or whatever for the people, for the viewers right now?
My message is that you can accomplish anything you want as long as you put your mind to it and you see it, believe it, live it, and go for it. And I'm living proof. And anybody out there that has doubt, that has maybe they're going through a hard time, just do it. Just do something. Just focus and do it, and don't stop and don't quit. And I am living proof of going to the bottom and then working your way through it by doing something good and positive for yourself and for other people.
That's a great message. It's a great way to end the podcast.
That's a platitude.
Yeah. you Twitter is filled with that. I always
Oh, yeah.
tell the people that DM me on Twitter, hey man, how do I grow my account? I tell them, tweet platitudes to make people retweet mindlessly retweet your stuff,
Yeah.
and then just put out valuable content for
Yes.
people to learn how to better their life, their relationship, their health, and their life in overall.
Yeah.
So that's why I like platitudes. It gets the retweets.
I do. I like platitudes too. Platitudes are fundamentally based on human nature and what drives
Yeah.
us. So, there's a lot of truth in the platitudes that if people follow these principles, you really can accomplish great things if you put your mind to something. And a lot of people just can't get started or won't get started for whatever reason. I don't.
That's weird. Not really, not really. It took me 10 years to make the jump from like doing regular freelance work in my country, like to go to Twitter and start selling stuff. It
Yeah.
took me 10 years. I get it. I was very fearful of doing that because I know that people they just will relentlessly attack you
Of course.
because you're trying to make an honest living selling your time and your stuff. So it took quite a time to do that. I guess it took more or less the same to you to make the jump. Not on
Well, yeah.
Twitter, but to your own stuff.
Yes. Yeah. It's a process, and I mean, I think the people that do the attacking are the people that aren't really doing anything,
I
because
guess so, yeah.
people that were really doing and accomplishing things don't have time to attack other people. And what's the point anyway? Who cares what somebody else is doing? I mean, that's why I admire guys like you.
Thank
We are
you.
we are in the minority. I mean, we are in a group of people that is, aggressively pursuing our goals. But we are in the minority of all of society because most people are not doing things like what we're doing. And so we are more on the leading edge. So you're going to be subject to attack when you put yourself out there like this, which that's
Man,
fine with me. I mean, I don't care.
just before our disengagement, I tweeted something that I don't drink, I don't smoke, I never nothing.
Well,
I've
good,
never gotten drunk.
good for you.
Can you imagine the amount of hate I've got for that? For tweeting something that maybe in other times people will say, "Oh, wow, that's great. He doesn't get drunk. He doesn't drink. He doesn't. Well, I drink, but not in quantities in order to
Yes.
get drunk." I've I've been called everything.
Wow.
I just like put the tweet in mute and
Yeah.
forget it because it was taking a little time off from my life. But man, I know why people just don't want to do it. But if you do it, you get more love from
Yes.
people. You get from love. I can imagine you received that love from your clients.
Yeah, I do. Back to your drinking thing. I mean, that's a good example. Why would somebody hate on you or criticize you for obviously making what is a good decision, and it's your own lifestyle style decision? I mean, to me, that's nonsensical.
And it's weird. It's weird because when you see like a really big alcoholic people saying, I won't drink anymore, people applaud that.
Yeah,
But when someone says, I don't drink, I never gotten drunk, dude, you must be boring as hell. That's
yeah,
weird.
yeah.
Such a weird thing.
People have different goals, and you're a family guy. And didn't you recently announce that your wife is pregnant with your second child?
Yeah, she's pregnant. She's due on March, April, more or less.
Oh, nice. My birthday's March 24th. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe he'll get born there, and the
Yes.
numerologist will tell that he will have a great life.
Well, congratulations. I'm happy for you. You're
Thank
a good
you.
man.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. I'm glad to have you in the podcast, and let's keep in touch.
Oh, we sure will. I'm going to need some design help from you
You have
soon.
my email.
I sure do. I know where to find you.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank,
having me. It was a real pleasure. I appreciate it.
thank you so much, Johnny. See you next time.
I'll talk to you soon, Jose.
Bye.
Thank you.